Hi, I'm here to talk to you about the so called stand your ground law. I hear that in a lot of the questions to me about it. It is not actually a stand your ground law. That kind of reverses what it really is. It's a no duty to retreat statute that says if you are in your home or your car and someone poses a reasonable threat to your safety, the safety of another person, is about to commit a felony, you don't have to look for a way out. You can shoot. Okay, so that's not, hey, you can stand there. That is, in the old law, there were interpretations that said you have to take the last clear chance to retreat. You have to call 911. You have to find some way to avoid using force before you can apply deadly force. The so-called stand your ground law says, no, you don't. You do not have to look for a way out. You don't necessarily have to call 911. Now, if you can, that's great. But it understands these kinds of situations. You can't always pick up the phone. You can't always be making noise. You can't always be turning on lights to try to do something to get away. Now, here's the big mistake everybody makes. They think that this is a get out of jail free law. It is absolutely not that. The stand your ground law does not say you cannot be arrested as long as you look at the officer and say, hey, I was in my home. I was in my car. That guy was about to do something bad. No, here's what happens. If you ever find yourself in this situation, and I certainly hope you don't, someone has either come up in a very threatening manner to your car, or someone has come into your house under some circumstances that are very threatening. Either they got in because you let them and it turned into something unexpected, or they broke in and you encountered them after the break-in, but they're in your house or they're coming to your car, and you shoot and kill them. Then you call the police, or someone else does, right away. You have to do that. And the police come. Well, the police weren't there when it happened. And guess what? Everybody says, I'm not guilty. That does not keep the police from arresting you. You can say, I'm not guilty all day long. It is not up to the police officer to make that decision. The people who decide whether or not you are guilty are a jury of your peers, 12 of them, and that might be a year later. That night, you will be arrested. You will have to get an attorney. You may or may not get bond in Indiana, probably not, because murder does not get a bond in this state unless the state's case is weak. If you don't get bond, you will sit in the local jail for anywhere from 72 days if you're granted a speedy trial and it actually happens in the first round of speedy trial, but no more than a year. So you could sit for up to a year waiting for your chance to tell the jury that you are covered by the stand your ground law, that this was self-defense. Now, maybe your attorney can convince the prosecutor's office before that year is up that they should dismiss all charges and let you go home. I hope that happens. But do not make the mistake of thinking because Indiana has passed a so-called stand your ground law that you can shoot someone, kill them. Tell the police officer who responds to your home or the scene close to your car, hey, I was just standing my ground. And they will think, oh, well, then everything's okay. You can go. That is not what happens. Sounds kind of crazy when you say it because it is kind of crazy. That police officer isn't supposed to make that decision. He's supposed to let the prosecutor's office look it over. They get to decide whether or not to charge you. Maybe in the first 72 hours, the prosecutor's office will say, you know what, this does look like a stand your ground case. And you'll get out after only 3 days without charges. Or maybe they'll say, well, that's kind of a close call. I can see what he's saying and maybe it makes sense, but we're going to need to investigate this. And you'll sit there for 30, 60, 90 days, not being able to go to work, not being able to get a bond. And then they'll say, oh, hey, you know what? It all checks out. Everything you told us, everything your attorney brought to us, confirmed. We talked to a couple witnesses. A-okay, we're dismissing all charges. You can go home. Sorry about that. Well, that's 60 to 90 days later. If you're lucky, what's been going on in your life outside the jail, the bills, the job, the car repo, the rent, the eviction. Yeah, that's really tough. That is not a, hey, stand your ground means I can just shoot and everything will be A-okay. So understand you would be in a horrible situation if you ever had to do that. You would be legally justified. But you don't just get to tell the police that and expect them to take it on your word. You wouldn't want them to not investigate if it was someone you cared about who got shot and you thought it was an accident, that they went in the wrong house and they shouldn't have been shot. You would want the police to look at it thoroughly. You would want the prosecutor to look at it thoroughly. And that's what's going to happen to you too. Now, that's kind of the truth of the nuts and bolts of how it really works with the stand your ground law. You never want to be in a situation of having to shoot somebody. It's good that the law allows you a lot of leeway, but the law does not make a snap judgment. The law does not decide that the night it happens. There is a huge consequence. So you have to act in the moment. I'm not saying don't defend yourself, don't defend your home, don't defend your loved ones. Absolutely do. Do what you need to do. Be prepared to explain yourself, probably through an attorney. Don't talk to the police that night. You need some time to calm down. Tell them who the witnesses are. Let them look at your phone. Don't hide anything, but collect yourself before you start talking to the police. And understand the long-term consequences are going to be that event is going to last a while and it's going to take a significant amount of time to figure out. Best case scenario, 72 hours. Worst case scenario, a year later you're sitting in court and a jury's deciding. So stand your ground law is great. It exonerates a lot of people. It's not an instantaneous get out of jail free card. So protect yourself, protect your loved ones, protect your home, protect your car. Understand what's going on in the bigger picture so you're prepared if you ever get in that situation for the aftermath. So you know what you're doing and what decisions you're making. So that's my answer to that. Be really careful about that stand your ground law. Understand it. And if you ever have to rely on it to justify your actions, be very thankful that it's there. That's today's answer from John Tompkins, the Defender in Indianapolis, Indiana.